Happy New Year, everyone. This is Lida of ACC Global. I know we've been through a lot lately. 2020 was a terrible year for all of us, but it's time for us to move on, to be optimistic and be ready to embrace what's ahead of us. Stay tuned if you're interested to know about studying in Perth and why you choose this particular state for PR option. Here with us today is Gurpreet and Adam Bryars of ECU will join us later to discuss some updates. And Gurpreet, please go ahead to introduce further about yourself.
Hi everyone, we are here with yet another session for migration, and my name is Gurpreet Kaur. I'm a registered migration agent at ACC Melbourne office, and today with Lida and Adam we'll be discussing about benefits of studying in WA, or most particularly Perth. So Lida, over to you.
Okay, so we will start with the frequently asked questions. Gurpreet, in migration point of view, why should I consider studying in Perth, and what are the advantages of living and studying in regional areas?
Yeah, so if you're thinking about applying permanent residency after you complete your studies in regional areas, there are plenty of benefits of studying in regional areas. For example, access to dedicated places, which are only reserved for 491 and 190 visa, which are state-sponsored visas. Priority processing for these visas, and access to the regional occupation list. So usually the medium and long-term list does have few occupation, but the regional occupation list have majority of vast variety of occupations which you can access. And recently, the immigration has announced one more perk, which is quite fascinating, which is additional 1 or 2 years of 485 visa if you study in regional area for 2 years, and obviously 5 extra points for studying in regional area, which can be beneficial for some people who are lacking few points.
Wow, good point. Nowadays, what are the trending and most common occupations that can easily lead to permanent residency?
So 2020, everybody will remember, as a COVID year. So a lot of people were affected, and government has made few changes, like they stopped migration for a while, and then they started again and giving invitation to people who are highly skilled and which were beneficial for the COVID response and recovery. So these occupations, I could say, registered nurses, which are our frontline workers, obviously, social workers required for mental health and other issues, obviously engineers, which can build our economy again, and infrastructure. IT graduates, obviously, working from home like us is really important. And these are high in demand jobs at this stage, and some wet occupations as well. And depending on the each state and priority migration list. So I have mentioned few, but in future I could say some agriculture occupation as well will be coming into picture.
Awesome. Follow up for the previous question. Is it practical for the student to start healthcare related courses, especially Bachelor of Nursing, considering the current situation?
Yeah, it would be quite helpful in the current situation, like I said, due to the COVID response and recovery, and our economy would be struggling. So health occupation would remain in high in demand as previously. And due to COVID, they will remain in demand maybe for 2 to 3 years, because it will take time to recover from this COVID situation. So if somebody is thinking to start this health courses or nursing or even other like pharmacy or other courses, they will be, I think they will remain in demand in future as well, because these courses are given extra quota from the government, and also they have high occupation ceiling. So people who are choosing health occupation, they don't have to worry about permanent residency, I would say. But yeah, future is unpredictable always. But next 4 to 5 years, I think health occupation would be high in demand in Australia.
Okay, just a clarification for the 485 visa or postgraduate visa. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate further the difference of studying in Perth or other regional areas compared to Melbourne, Sydney, or Brisbane?
So if someone studies in Melbourne, Sydney, or Brisbane, which are big metropolitan areas as per the immigration, so they will not have access to extra 485 visa, which was announced in November 2019 by the government. So people who have studied in Perth, Adelaide, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, or Canberra, these are called regional centers or major cities, major regional cities. So whoever has studied for 2 years and lived there in that area, they will be eligible for 1 year extra 485 visa. But whoever has studied, let's say outside the Perth in the Western Australian regional area, regional postcodes, then they will be eligible for extra 2 year 485 visa, which is quite helpful if you are thinking about increasing your point by gaining experience. Let's say if you have 4 year 485 visa, you can have extra points for your experience if you continue to live there and work in your nominated occupation.
Okay, just to be clear, so the student needs to stay in a certain regional area where he or she graduated while on 485 for him or her to be eligible for a second visa, right?
Yeah, so some people, even students are really confused about this. They are, calling us and asking clarification about it. So they will not be granted 4 year visa straight away or 3 year 485 visa straight away. What they have to do is they have to continue to live in a regional postcode for entire time of their 485 visa. So they will be eligible for extra 1 or 2 years visa. So after getting 485 visa, they have to stay in the regional postcode. Yeah.
Okay, noted on that. Do you have additional information to our viewers, especially why they have to consider living in Perth?
So like I previously mentioned about the benefit of 491 and 190 visa, which are state-sponsored visas in Western Australia and in other states as well. So I will talk about Western Australia at this stage. So Western Australia has extensive list of occupation under graduate stream. Obviously, they have general stream as well. And under the graduate stream, there are some concessions available. So let's say if somebody has studied in Perth or other regional areas in WA for 2 years, so after the graduation, they can access the extensive list under graduate stream. So there are a lot of occupation under that list. Students have to study in Perth for 2 years from an accredited provider, and after that they have to only show 6 months of experience or 6 months of employment contract, either one of them. So if somebody is nominated under a general stream, they have to show 1 year of experience and 1 year of extra contract of employment. So it is quite beneficial for the graduates of WA. So they can only show 6 months of employment contract and access 491 or 190 visa from the state. And obviously, 5 points for 190 visa from state, and also 15 points if you are nominated under 491 visa. So there are a lot of occupation in the graduate and general stream though, which you can access. And Lida will explain about the popular courses in WA or Perth you can study over. And if you have any doubts, obviously you can book an appointment with us. And Lida will guide you for popular courses in WA.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet, for your time. To
Thank
add
you. Thank
up,
you, Lida.
okay, so to add up, if you choose to study in Perth, we have a lot of universities and private colleges to choose from, and of course, Edith Cowan University. If you opt to study the courses that was mentioned by Gurpreet, the trending and most common occupations, to mention some, are nursing, social work, engineering, agriculture, and teaching. Just prepare the necessary admission requirements like your passport, visa, OSHC, Australian and overseas qualification. For the English requirement, it varies from one course to another. So the higher the score, the better. And for further clarification on the required and exact band score, you know whom to contact with. ACC Global Education Consultants. VET courses like disability, mental health, leadership and management, and cookery are also popular. We have a long list of providers in Perth. So, as mentioned earlier, the International Account Manager of Edith Cowan University, Adam Bryers, will discuss on how to kickstart your study with them and some more updates. Okay, Adam, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this presentation, and thank you very much to AECC Global for making this happen. Fantastic agency that I really enjoy working with in Australia and different parts of the world. So, and thanks very much for that introduction. It was really interesting for me as well. So I'm going to do a little presentation today. Thanks for that. So just to get it going. So I am, I'm basically, I'm called International Account Manager. It just means that I sort of, I manage recruitment in different parts of the world. And at the moment I'm, because I'm actually based in Melbourne, I've been based here for the year, for last year, 2020, I'm here probably the first 6 months of 21. So I've been doing recruitment in Melbourne as well and other parts of the eastern states of Australia. Okay, so that's our main building. We call it Building 1 in our Joondalup campus in Perth. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the rankings of ECU. So ECU is actually a relatively new university. We're 30 years old. Before we became a university, we were a group of sort of higher colleges of education, including teaching. So we do have a long history of education, but as a formal university, we've been going for 30 years. But in that time, in 30 years, we now have more than 30,000 students, and we have more than 6,000 international students. So we've grown really fast. Some would say we're punching a little higher than our weight, but we're very proud. We're very proud of where we come from and where we're at and where we're going. So in terms of rankings, so on the global rankings, we're still coming up. All right, global rankings are very pegged to like research and so forth. And what I can say about ECU is we're a teaching university, and now we're evolving into research university as per normal evolution of a university. So, but there's actually a ranking, an Australian ranking, and for onshore students, it's called it's QUILT, QILT. And with that ranking, that's for all universities in Australia. And for 5 years running, we've ranked either #1 for our student experience or teaching quality of all the public universities in Australia. So, you know, very famous universities like, you know, University of Melbourne, Monash, RMIT, QUT, University of Sydney, UNSW, Macquarie. These are all public universities. So for 5 years running of all the public universities, we've ranked #1 for either student experience or teaching quality. And this ranking comes about from surveying students themselves. So it's actually the student voice that gives us this ranking. There's also, you might be aware, there's a publication called the Good Universities Guide. And for 14 years in a row, we've ranked 5 stars for our quality of teaching. And we are actually in some of the global rankings, we are coming up. So for the Times Higher Education ranking of young universities, so that's universities under 50 years of age, we're actually in the top 100 in the world. And then for some subject rankings, for example, engineering and technology, again with Times Higher Education, we're now in the top 175 or in the 150 to 175 band in the world for engineering and technology. So we're definitely on the up. And I always say with an ECU degree, it's like a good investment. It's something that if you were to study now, the actual value of the degree is only going to go up over time. Okay, so as you progress through your career, your degree is going to raise in value as our rankings raise as well. So that's what I say. I think it's a good investment. All right, so we are in Perth. We have 3 campuses. So our main campus is in Joondalup, which is the northmost campus there. It's about 29 minutes by train from the city centre. It's very easy to get to. Perth is very easy to get around as a city. It is growing, but compared to places like Sydney and Melbourne, It's got a population of about 2 million people. So it's a lot. The pace is much more laid back compared to Melbourne. I'm a Melbourne person. I'm in Melbourne now. I love Melbourne very much. I still love it, but I'm also looking forward to going back to Perth, just because it's a bit mellower. It's a bit easier. The quality of life is very, very good in Perth. So our main campus is 29 minutes north. You can get there if you're in the city centre. You just get on a train. It's about 30 minutes to Joondalup. You get off the train. You go up an escalator. You walk to the buses. We have these buses called cat buses. So cat buses are free. Cat buses come, and then about 2 minutes later, you're at the campus. Or also you can walk as well. So very, very convenient. We also have another campus in Mount Lawley. You can see there it's about 20 minutes by bus from the city centre. It's there where we teach English, and we teach some courses like arts, communications, and other courses. We also have a performing arts academy there as well. So that one's also, it's about 20 minutes by bus from the city centre. We're actually in that campus in about 5 years is going to be closed down because we're building a campus downtown in Perth. First university in Western Australia to have a complete campus downtown. The campus is going to be sit right on top of the bus station. It's going to be very central, very, very exciting for that to happen. But at the moment we have that campus in Mount Lawley, which is a lovely campus. We also have another campus down south in a place called Bunbury, which I believe is ultra regional. And you might want to talk to the people at AECC about the advantages of ultra regional. It's where we teach, for example, we teach social work undergraduate. We don't have postgraduate, we have undergraduate social work, which we teach at our Bunbury campus. So it is regional. It's more for the domestic students, but we do have international students there. You know, there's lots of really good deals, like basically free accommodation and so forth that we offer there in Bunbury. So, you know, you can do some courses there as well, but majority of the students are in Joondalup or Mount Lawley of the international students. So as I said, across those three campuses, we have 30,000 students, 6,000 international students. Okay, so very important, scholarships. Okay, this is always a key question, I guess, besides possibly from migration. So if you are if you're a domestic student, if you're a local onshore student and you've done minimum 1 semester of study at a university with good academic standing, so minimum 1 semester of study, so you can actually transfer mid-course, or maybe you've completed some study, you may have done some undergraduate study here, or you may have done a diploma, or you may have done some English language study. If you've done some study in Australia, it's very, very likely that you'll qualify for our Australian Alumni International Scholarship, which is 20% duration. So we're going to give you 20% so for the whole duration, you'll get 20%. It's not all the courses. Some courses, for example, nursing, unfortunately, we don't have the scholarship for nursing. Nursing is a high demand course, which we fill. So the school doesn't need to see a need for scholarship, but majority of the courses do have scholarship. Okay, so again, you can talk to AECC if you want to find out whether it has or not. Scholarships are automatic. At time of application, you just apply, and if you qualify, then your offer letter will show the scholarship. So it's a really good scholarship, our alumni scholarship, 20%. A lot of people in Australia will qualify for this. On top of this, if you are interstate and the borders aren't open, they're closed again. They're opening and closing. So if you were to commence in February or even July and the borders are closed and you can't get to Perth to study, we will let you commence online. So you can start online. We'll give you an ECOE. You will need to pay your deposit. You can commence online. And if you do commence online, then we will give you a further deduction of $2,000 off the semester, which gets credited in semester 2. And if you study online, it is flexible. You can do up to a full-time load. So it might be 1 unit, it might be 2 units, it might be 3 units, or it might be 4 units, depending on how many units is a full-time load. But if you do study online, then you can do it as little as 1 unit. Even if you're in Australia, we'll let you do that. Okay, but the borders do have to be closed. If the borders are open and you don't have to quarantine to come to WA, then we would expect that you would come over and you would commence study. So It's up 50-50 at the moment for February. We'll have to see, but we do have that flexibility. We also have what's called an accommodation bursary. So we are giving 50% in our Mount Lawley campus, the on-campus accommodation at Mount Lawley campus. We're giving 50% for 22 weeks, which you can extend. So what it means is that you can actually get a room on campus for under $100 a week. It works out to be around about $90 with that scholarship. Okay, so 50% scholarship, minimum 22 weeks. There is a bus, so if you're staying at Mount Lawley campus and you're studying at Joondalup campus, we do have a free bus that goes in the morning and the evening, so you can move between the campuses. It's about 30 minutes driving between the two, or it's very easy to take public transport as well. It's it would probably be about 45 minutes, and you can move between the two campuses. So great way to get set up. You know, you could qualify. You just have to. It's just a matter of applying directly to the accommodation, and you can get 50% off for 22 weeks. All right, so fantastic way to get established. After 22 weeks, then you can look around maybe for some accommodation as you get to know the city and find out where you might want to live. The other thing is we also have an early acceptance bursary, and this might be, you know, for some courses like nursing that don't actually have the scholarship. If you accept your offer, you receive your offer letter, and if you accept it and the money arrives within 2 weeks, then we will give you a $2,000 deduction that will come in the second semester, or if it's within 3 weeks, we'll give you $1,000. So basically we call it early acceptance. So it just means if you accept fast, we will give you a discount off your offer. So $2,000 or $1,000. Just bear in mind though, you can't get both the online bursary and the early acceptance. So if you did get early acceptance and then you do end up studying online and the online's available, then your acceptance bursary would become an online bursary. So I just want to point that out. But look, the idea with these is we realize that relocating to Perth can be expensive if you're coming from interstate. So we're trying to, it's like a package to make it more attractive if you were considering to come to study with us. Okay, I'm not going to go too much into this because colleagues from AECC have already spoken about it. But so cybersecurity wasn't mentioned. This is another. This is definitely a growth area in Australia and the world, and we are very well known. We're actually one of 2 universities recognised by the Australian government for excellence in cybersecurity. So yeah, it's a really good course. We have undergraduate and postgraduate. For the postgraduate, we actually take people from all sorts of different backgrounds. You don't need an IT background to do a Master of Cybersecurity. You can have done like psychology, you could have done teaching, you may have done arts. It doesn't matter. All those can qualify for the Master of Cybersecurity. We mentioned nursing. We do have undergraduate and postgraduate nursing. That does lead to registration as a nurse. These courses are very popular. And with these courses, if the borders are closed, then you can actually commence online with these courses as well. So please keep this in mind that these ones you can commence online. And then we have a full range of other courses. For example, we do have social work undergraduate. It's not listed there. And we've got teaching, both undergraduate and postgraduate. We've got a bunch of other courses, for example, like, you know, business courses. And we've also got Master of Engineering. It's a great course. It's a 2-year course. It's very designed for reskilling. So if you've done one stream of engineering and you want to do another stream, then you can come and do the ECU Master of Engineering. And there is demand for engineers. We are the economy in WA is moving back into a sort of a semi-boom again on the back of mining, and engineers are very much in demand. So something to consider as well. We're very, very well placed to prepare you for engineering in Western Australia. So I'm almost finished. So I have sort of mentioned that if borders close, that interstate students can commence online in February and July if necessary. We do have, like, if you want to, you can grab a quick photo, but there is actually a site on our website for international students, which you can find easily, which does talk about, because not all the courses, if it is online, not all the courses qualify for online. But anyway, don't get too caught up in that because you can work that out with AECC. I've talked about the bursaries. We're really hoping that things are almost back to normal in July. Let's hope. I mean, especially for onshore people, maybe not. Offshore, it's still a bit questionable whether borders will be open by then, but hopefully by July, things will be quite normal in Australia. And I mentioned that we do issue ECOE. In terms of deposit at the moment, it is a standard deposit. So if you do want to accept an offer, it's 50%. You need to pay basically you pay 50% of a full year. So it tends to be around about $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 you need to pay in order to secure a COE. But do remember, so for example, if you did start online and you're only doing one unit, then obviously you've got money in the bank. You'd only take what you've studied, and the money would stay there, which you could use for further units that you would do down the track. All right, so I won't go too much into this, but Gurpreet did allude to the fact that we do, so the different states, there's like the federal migration scheme, and the different states have their own schemes as well. So there is a state nominations scheme whereby if you have studied 2 years in WA and you have an occupation on the graduate occupation list, that you can actually fast track your migration. And that's as much as I'll say, because I know like Gurpreet, she's the expert. My expertise is like promoting or about courses and so forth. But just to highlight that it is there, you can actually, you can do your own search on it. State nomination WA. It is my understanding it was introduced. This current scheme was introduced about 2 years back, and they do tweak it. So it has altered a number of times already since that time that it was introduced, and they have made it more attractive. So you never know. So it's really important to keep your eye on it, because it's definitely more attractive now than it was when it was first introduced. So let's see how things go now that there's been no sort of migration into the state. There is, like I mentioned, we are moving into a sort of a mini boom at the moment. And one thing about Western Australia is that because of that population of 2 million, when the economy starts to pick up, there becomes like shortages in skilled workers that take forth. And also like for it filters down to the part-time work as well. So we're definitely moving into that mode at the moment. There's a bit of excitement and a bit of optimism after some time of sort of having a more depressed economy. The state government did actually report a surplus, which is just phenomenal, given that we're in the middle of a pandemic. So it's definitely a place. It goes up and down, but we're moving into an upcycle at the moment. So it's a really good time to be in Western Australia. So just finishing up, why I studied ECU, just summarising what I've said. So I say, look, we're an up and coming university in Western Australia. There's others, like maybe Curtin, UWA, that are more established, but we're definitely on the move. Like we're making big inroads at the moment. Western Australia has managed the spread of COVID extremely well. Could say to do with the isolation of the state, but like life there was normal. Where we were in lockdown in Melbourne back in April, May, and back again in sort of August, their life was normal there from about they were maybe in lockdown for about 2 weeks or so. So they've done a great job of managing COVID-19. It is a regional location, as it's already been discussed. Perth is known to be cheaper compared to other cities in Australia. All right, the cost of living is cheaper compared to other cities in Australia. I mentioned about the scholarships and the bursaries that we've got available to try and offset, help sort of attract you, given the cost of relocation. I've talked about our campuses and the convenient access. I've mentioned that WA is doing very well economically, which creates good opportunities, part-time and ongoing for students. We've got a wide range of courses. Our price point is very competitive compared to other universities in Australia. So when you add the scholarship on, it actually makes it quite compelling. Very friendly and supportive place, ECU. Really, it's a really big thing. It's a really important thing. If you've got a problem at ECU, someone will help you, be it myself in the international office, be it your lecturer, be maybe an administrative officer in the schools. There's always someone, even like, the gardeners, there's such an ideology, a philosophy across the university to be friendly and to support our students. And I would say, being a young university, that we're not held back by tradition. We're young, we're agile, we're flexible, we're innovative, and we can adapt quickly to things that happen and respond as well. So thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Adam. And I prepare few questions for our viewers. So may I ask, since we are slowly back to normal, I know it's very clear from your presentation that I just would like to confirm the teaching delivery is still online, right? And how about courses with work placement? Are they affected?
Okay, so yeah, so pretty much face-to-face teaching in Perth was at ECU, because maybe other universities haven't followed suit, but we were fully face-to-face teaching as of second semester last year. So for the students in Perth, it was face-to-face, unless there were unless it was a large number. I think it was more than 100 people in a lecture, then that one had to be online. But on the whole, it went back to normal in Perth. But saying that though, we have been teaching online. So we do have a cohort of students, the international students offshore that haven't been able to come onshore. So we've been servicing them online. So concurrent, side by side with the face-to-face teaching, we have been doing the online teaching. But if you're in Perth, you're going to be face-to-face. But as I mentioned, because we're doing that online teaching, we can actually extend that to students interstate from Perth if the borders aren't open for quarantining.
Okay, noted on that. Yeah. You mentioned about scholarship already. How about financial support or flexible payment plans to ECU students?
So look, as I said, we've tried to embed it in the bursaries and the scholarships that I've mentioned: accommodation, online study if you need it, early acceptance, the alumni scholarship. So within that, we've tried to make it attractive for students, to make it maybe a bit easier if they're going to make a big move, especially if they're coming from other parts of Australia. In terms of the payment, we do at the moment, we are still requiring the full payment to secure the ECOE. Okay, so, and as I mentioned, it's generally around about, it's going to be somewhere about maybe $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 that you need to pay up front. You will need to cover health cover as well. But to my knowledge, once you're actually in Perth, and perhaps when it's coming to the next semester, my understanding that there can be some flexibility when you become an ongoing student. So not the first semester, but maybe the second semester onwards, there is potential for some flexibility. I'm aware that students are on payment plans. Last year, because of the pandemic, we were giving COVID relief. We weren't giving relief off fees, but we were being very flexible in terms of payment. So there is flexibility for the ongoing, but for the initial, at the moment, anyway, the policy is that you do need to pay the full deposit as what's on the offer letter.
Good news for the ECU students. So far, Adam, how's the employability rate for ECU graduates?
Look, it's still, you can, I was thinking about this question. You can do your own study about they actually have graduation employment surveys that students can access themselves. Look, there's some areas, like for example, in maths, STEM, maths and science subjects, we do really well against the national average for both our undergraduate and postgraduate students. So there's some areas, but look, on the whole, I think, I can't sort of quote actual statistics, but ECU is in Perth. ECU is seen, as the very practical education by employers. So a lot of ECU courses have embedded, they'll have some sort of work integrated learning. They'll have, for example, cybersecurity has in the final semester, there's either there's going to be a placement or there's going to be a solid work project that students have to do. The focus on the final semester is practical. Nursing is a given, all nursing students have to do clinical placements. So that's a given in the course. Teaching, again, with teaching, teaching, especially for both undergraduate and postgraduate, you have to go into the classroom. Many of our courses have a very inherent practical component. A lot of universities do mention that they are practical with their education. I've worked at ECU is actually my third university now. I've had a whole career, but I really do believe that ECU actually really does deliver on this. So given that in many cases there is practical employment, not employment, but there's some sort of practical experience in the degree, then that is definitely going to help setting up for employment, because when you're going for those initial interviews and so forth, you can actually quote some work experience, like significant work experience that you may have done during the time of your degree, which you can quote to your employer. Or it just might be that you've snagged it, that you've done some work experience and that employer keeps you on after you finish your studies. So, and it hasn't, as I said, the life is normal. So any of these sort of like placements or work integrated learning, there's no it's not like we've been working from home. So they've been able to go on as normal.
Okay, thank you so much, Adam, for your time. And to all the viewers who are interested about Edith Cowan University courses, visa guidance, and other education inquiries, feel free to contact us virtually at www.aeccglobal.com.au.